Hey everybody, it's Teresa. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to do some macrame today. I'm going to make a bracelet and I'm going to use some of the beads that came in the most recent Potomac Beads Treasure Edition subscription box. The one for September, it was called Happy Camper. I'll put a link in the corner of this video and in the description box below to the unboxing I did for this subscription in case you want to watch it, where I go into more details about the beads that came and how the subscription works and all. And I'll put a link in the description box below that will take you directly to the subscription page on the Potomac Beads website, where it tells all about the subscriptions and the pricing and all that, and where you can sign up if you decide you want to. I made this little bracelet here to begin with as a kind of a practice piece to make sure this was going to work. And I used the ceramic button that came in the box, and I used the 8mm smooth round beads that came in the box. I think they were called dark topaz. And I did a leather loop here to close it off with the button. And I used this really pretty brown knotting cord that came in the box, and I'm going to use this today too. And for the one I'm going to make today, I'm going to use these 8mm faceted check glass beads. I think Tiger Blend was the color on these. And I've got some findings in here. I've got the cut button that came in the box. It's called Jet Bronze. And then I've got some jump rings in there. I've got a ring that I'm going to put on here so that I can put some dangles off this one. I'm going to make it more feminine looking, and you all know I have to have dangles and things. I've got a clamshell tip here, and I've got a 2x2 crimp tube and a 1mm crimp bead. And I've got two 1mm crimp beads. I've got a little bicone in there that came in the box, one of the 4mm topaz bicones that came in the box that I'm going to use to go with one of my dangles. And I've got a ball head pin and a eye pin. I've got my 1.5mm dark brown leather, but you could use any. You could use 2mm, 1mm, it doesn't matter. It's just going to be for the loop here for the button to go through. Of course, I've got my macrame board. I've got some 11.0. These are like a light bronze. I don't know. I don't have them labeled, and I don't know why. But I'm not going to be using many of these. I'm just going to decorate the cut button up a little bit with it. I've got a piece of bead stringing wire here already cut off that I had cut off for something else, and it didn't work out, and I had saved it. It's like 20 inches long. It's way more than I need, but it's just a piece that I'm going to use because I've already got it cut off. I'm going to be using my chain nose pliers, my tweezer pliers, both pairs of my crimping pliers, both pairs of my bent chain nose pliers, my round nose pliers, and both pairs of my cutters. Probably going to be using my beading awl to guide a knot as I go along. I'm going to be using my GS Hypo cement. I'm going to be using my thread burner, and I really need to use a different thread, different thread burner for this than I do for my bead weaving, but I don't. Or I could just get a different tip, because these tips come out, so you could just get a different tip and use a different tip for macrame than you do bead weaving, but I don't have another tip. And of course, I could use a lighter for this, but that's probably dangerous to get me and a lighter together. I'd end up burning down the house. And I've got my scissors to cut my leather and my cord and all that with. And I've got my New Orleans shot glass that I'm going to use to put my wires in when I cut them off. I think that's everything. Hold on, and I'll get my board set up, and I'll be back. Okay, I've got my macrame board here, and I've put my bead stringing wire in through my little slit up here, and then I took it back through a couple of these just to tighten it up. And I'm going to load on some of my beads here. I don't know how many it's going to take for this. I can load them on, and then if I don't need this many, I can take them off, or if I need more, I can add them on. Should have already done this. I'll just do that many. I know I'll have to have more than that, but that'll be enough to do what I'm going to do with you all, and then I can do the rest of it off camera. I've got a piece of the knotting cord that came in the box. It's about 3.5 feet. I'm going to do probably about 4.5 feet of macrame, because I think my knot and my loop and my little ring I'm going to put on here and my button and all, I think will take up probably about 3 inches. So I'm going to do probably about 4.5 inches of macrame. I was talking about making this one more feminine looking than this one. I decided this one could probably be used for either a man or a woman because it came out to be fairly long. It came out to be about a little over 8 inches, so it could probably be for either a man or a woman. But I was going to put some dangles on this one and make it a little more feminine looking. So I'm going to take my knotting cord here and I'm going to find both ends, put them together, and then I'm just going to do square knots like we've done with macrame before. I'm going to put this under my bead stringing wire. I'm going to hold on so that I keep my center. I want the same amount of knotting cord on each side here. And I'm going to start out by making a couple of square knots without my beads. So I'm going to loop around here and make what I call a P. And I'm going to hold on to my center. I'm going to take my left cord and I'm going to go over this cord under the bead stringing wire through the loop of the P and pull that through. And this first knot is the fiddliest because you're trying to keep hold of your center. After this one, it's not so bad. And now I'm going to make the other part of my square knot. I'm going to make what I call a Q. I'm going to take my right cord, go over this, my left cord under the bead string wire through the loop of the Q, and tighten. I said I'd cut off 3.5 feet of this knotting cord. I never know how much to cut off. Like I said, I'm going to do about 4.5 inches of macrame, and I had been doing a foot per inch. But when I did that for this other bracelet, I cut off way too much. So that's why I didn't cut off as much this time. So I'm going to push that up to the top of my measurements here so I can know when I get to my 4.5 inches. I'm going to make one more square knot before I start with my beads. So I'm going to make my P. Take this cord, go over my right cord under the bead stringing wire through the loop of the P, tighten. I'm going to take my left cord, make my Q, go over the, take the right cord, go over the left cord under the bead stringing wire through the loop of the Q, tighten. And now I'm going to push a bead up. And I'm going to make a square knot around my bead. So I'm going to do my P, take my left cord, go over my right cord, under the bead stringing wire, through the loop of the P, tighten. Then I'm going to take my left cord, make my Q, take my right cord, go over the left cord, under the bead stringing wire, through the loop of the Q, tighten, and I'm just going to make one square knot between my beads. You can do ever how many you want to, and you can start with however many appear before your beads that you want to. I'm going to push up another bead. I'm going to make my loop of my P, take my left cord, go over my right cord, under the right cord and under the bead stringing wire, through the loop of the P, tighten, take my left cord and make my Q, take my right cord, go over the left cord, under the bead stringing wire, through the loop of the Q, tighten. I'm going to push up another bead, make my P, take my left cord, go over my right cord, under the bead stringing wire, through the loop of the P, tighten. Take my left cord, make my Q, take my right cord, go over my left cord, under the bead stringing wire, through the loop of the Q, tighten. I'll push another bead up, take my right cord, make my P, go over, take my left cord and go over my right cord, under the bead stringing wire, through the loop of the P, tighten. Take my left cord, make my P, or my Q, take my right cord, go over my left cord, under the bead string wire, through the loop of the queue, and tighten. So I'm just going to keep doing this till I get down here to about 4.5 inches, and then when I get done, I'll be back. Okay, I'm down here. I'm a little bit past 4.5 inches. This will probably turn out longer than I wanted it to, but they usually do. And I made my knot after my last bead, and I'm going to make one more because I want 2 square knots at the bottom like I have at the top. So I'm going to make my P, take my left cord and go over my right cord through the loop of the P, and tighten. Take my left cord, make my Q, take my right cord, go over my left cord, under the bead stringing wire, through the loop of the Q, and tighten. So now I'm going to take it off my board and get ready to finish it off, so I'll be back. Okay, I've got it off my board now, and before I cut my knotting cord off here, I'm going to put some of my GS Hypo cement on my knot here. I'm just going to put some on the front and on the back. If I can get this closed, it's always, well, it's a miracle. I got it closed pretty good there that time. Okay, now I'm going to let that dry for a minute, and then I'm going to get my button, and I'm going to put my button on next. Okay, this is what I've got so far, and now I've got my cut button here. And I'm going to take my crimp tube. This is my crimp tube, not my crimp bead. I'm going to put it on my wire here. And then I'm going to go through the back of my cut button. And I've got 3 little 11-0 seed beads here. I'm going to pick those up just to decorate my button up with here. I didn't do that on the other one. Then I'm going to go down through the other hole of my cut button. Now I'm going to come back through my crimp tube. And I'm going to do like I always do. I'm going to try to keep my wires from getting crossed. Hold on to my cut button and pull my wire down. And I don't want to crimp right up against the button. I want it to be able to move some, you know. Now I'm going to take my crimping pliers. I'm going to go on that part with the tooth there. I'm going to lay the tooth on top. I'm going to squeeze. And now I'm going to go into that. There's 3 half circles up there, and the middle one is for the 2x2 crimp tube. So I'm going to go into that middle one and lay my crimp in there. And I know it's hard for you to see because it's hard for me to see. I'm going to lay my crimp in there, squeeze. I'm going to tug. And it's not going to come out of the crimp. It's trying to come through my whole piece here though, because this other piece is not anchored onto anything yet. I'm going to pull that down. Now I'm going to take my cutters, cut off my extra wire. Now I'm going to come down here to this end. I'm going to cut off my threads here. And see, I had plenty of thread. I don't know. I never know how much to cut off of this. I'm going to cut almost all the way, bend it down, but not all the way. I'll leave just a little bit. And now I'm going to take my thread burner and burn down my thread that's left here. And like I said, it's better to have a different thread burner for this, but I don't, because it can get your thread burner to be gunky. Okay, now I'm going to get my clamshell tip and my other crimp beads and crimp this in, so I'll be back. Okay, I've got my clamshell tip here. I'm going to take this end of my bead stringing wire and I'm going to put it through the back of my clamshell tip. Well, I need to get down here where y'all can see me. Going through the back there. Drop it all the way down to my piece. Now I'm going to put both of these crimp beads. These are size 1 crimp beads. When I do this, I like to put 2 in here just for a little extra security, because I'm just going to flat crimp these. I'm going to drop them down inside my clamshell there. I'm going to take my bent chain nose pliers. I'm going to reach in there. I'm going to squish the first one. And I'm going to squish the second one. And now that I've got them squished, I'm going to squish them some more. I think I'll go in with my tweezer pliers and squish them some more. Now that I've got them started. Okay, now I'm going to tug. That's good. So now I'm going to cut off my extra wire. Now I'm going to close my clamshell with my fingers a little bit. And I'm going to take my pliers and close it the rest of the way. Make sure my little holes line up there. Sometimes they don't want to. Okay, now I'm going to take one of my jump rings and my ring here, and my chain nose pliers and my bent chain nose pliers. I'm going to attach my little ring here to my clamshell tip. Open that up some more. Close my jump ring back up really well. Okay, now I need to cut me off a piece of leather. I hadn't done that yet. Hold on, I'll get my leather and I'll be back. Okay, I've got about a 10-inch piece of leather here. I found 10 inches does pretty good for this. And I think I need to zoom out now. I don't think I need to be hardly close to do this. I'm going to put my leather through here. Put my ends together to find the center. And then I'm just going to make an overhand knot. And I'm going to take my beading awl and put it in here to kind of guide my knot down here to get it kind of close to my, well, okay, maybe I won't do it with the beading awl. It's going to go around the whole thing if I do it with the beading awl. I'll just have to do it by myself. Just try to get my knot down there as close to the ring as I can. I'm going to pull on each piece of leather. Get it good and tight. If you wanted to make a pretty barrel knot here, you could. I just am not really good at making barrel knots, so I just usually do an overhand knot. Okay, now I'm going to take my cut button and bring it up here so I can figure out how big a loop I need for my button to go through. I think I'll try about right here. Make another overhand knot. Before I tighten it, I'm going to test my button again. That'll be good. I think I might loosen it up just a little bit here. I'm going to figure out where I want my button. I'm going to put my thumb there so that it won't slide down any. And I usually take my pliers and pull on each piece of leather to get a really good tight knot. Now before I cut it off, I'm going to test my button again, because it is possible to get this knot out if you need to. It's not easy, but it is possible. So, but I don't think I need to. I think that's going to be good. So now I'm going to just cut off my leather here. I always like to cut it a little slant there. Now I'm going to get my things that I need to make my dangles with. And I'm going to go ahead and put some GS Hypo Cement on these knots when I get done. I won't make y'all wait while I do it and struggle with that GS Hypo Cement, but I'll put some on both these knots before I finish it. So hold on, let me get my stuff to make my dangles and I'll be back. Okay, I measured this, and this just barely is 7 inches. I thought it would be closer to 7.5. I'm terrible at measuring this stuff. So I've got a ball head pin here, and I'm going to put I've got a heart here. I'm going to put my heart on here. This is a very long ball head pin. I don't know where in the world I got these. I hate to waste such a big, long ball head pin. It's the only brown one I've got, or bronze one I've got. I'm going to go to the tip of my pliers, bend over at a 90-degree angle. Take my round nose pliers and put them in the crook of the bend. Round nose pliers facing me. Bend the wire back until it hits the bead. Rotate the pliers till they're facing the table. Take this part up and under here until it hits the bottom of the tool. Cock the wire back until the loop is centered over the bead. Take my bent chain nose pliers. Hold on to my loop. This is such a long head pin, I can probably do this with my hands and not have to have my other pair of bent chain nose pliers. I'm just going to wrap until there's no more room to wrap. I'm going to take my cutters, cut off my extra wire, and then I use these crimping pliers, and I use the part there at the end that has a little half circle on each side to tuck in little burrs when I cut off the wire. Now I'm going to take, I've got a flower, I think is what that little flower charm there. And I'm going to take this eye pin and open it up. And put my charm on here. Close it up. Now I'm going to take this little topaz, 4mm topaz bicone that came in the box and put it on top of there. And I'm going to take my pliers and I'm going to go just a little bit above the bicone because I don't want to crack my bicone. And I'm going to bend over at a 90-degree angle. I'm going to take my cutters and cut off, leaving about 1/4 of an inch of the pin there. I'm going to take my round nose pliers and go to the very tip of the pin. Make sure there's none sticking out here. I'm going to roll back a loop. like it's closed up really well. I think I probably want that to be facing different so it'll hang the way I want it to. Yeah, I'm going to need that to face differently than that one on the bottom. So I'm going to take both pairs of my pliers. And turn that loop at the top so it's facing differently than the one at the bottom. My loop's not closed up very well, so I need to get that closed up better. Open it, close it again. That usually works to get it closed up better. So now I'm going to take pliers and my bent chain nose pliers and one of my jump rings. I'm going to put my little heart on here. Take another jump ring. Put my little flower with the bicone on top of it on here. Make sure to get my jump rings closed well. I'm going to take another jump ring. I'm going to put this little leaf on here. Make sure that's closed up well. There's all my little dangles. Close up my little bracelet that turned out shorter than I meant for it to, but that's okay. Lots of women with 7-inch wrists out there. Looks awfully tiny though, doesn't it? So hold on, I'll get my stuff put up and I'll get this other bracelet out too, and I'll be back. Okay, there are my little macrame bracelets with the button and leather loop closures that I've made with some of the beads from the most recent Potomac Beads Treasure Edition subscription box. It's really easy bracelets to make. If you want to make this, if you want to do the same thing I did here and you want to make a bigger one, I used 11 beads, so you probably want to use more, or you can put more knots between the beads and that would make it longer. I hope you all have enjoyed this video. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate those of you who have subscribed to my channel and watched my videos and liked and commented on my videos. I have a website where I sell my jewelry. It's Teresa's Handmade Jewelry, and I'll put a link to it in the description box below in case you're interested, along with a link to my Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and my email. If you haven't, I'd really love it if you'd subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified when I upload a new video. So until next time, hope y'all have a great day. Take care.